Hello, my name is Rand Sperry, and I'm here with Randy Redwitz, and we are the co-chairs for the Business and Ethics Conference that will be held later this year. And we have a special guest, and her name is Dr. Erin Barisano. She is the Orange Diocese Superintendent of Schools, and she's been with us now. I believe, Dr. Barisano, you said it's your third year.
This is my third year, yes. Yes.
And we are lucky to have you. You've been doing a great job, especially during this pandemic. And in fact, the first question I have for you is that the Orange County Catholic Schools have been applauded for their ability to successfully pivot to online school program in a matter of weeks last year. And now this fall, your schools led the country in providing opportunity for students to return to campus while safely managing COVID-19 safety protocols. So can you share with the audience what some of your best practices were that resulted in an actual increase in enrollment? And that's the exciting part about it. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I know it's a team effort.
Yes.
It takes a village, as they say, but you are the chief. So
right.
Tell us how you did it.
Well, it's been a challenging year to say the least, but so rewarding, and we have experienced many successes. I think one of the things that has really helped us navigate this is the fidelity to our mission. And our mission of Catholic education here in the Diocese of Orange is academic excellence, faith formation, and service. And we do that in partnership with our parents and with our parish communities. And that I think when an organization has a very clear mission, when crisis hits or when there are challenges, that fidelity to mission really becomes your North Star. And that's exactly what we've seen here. And so in that, what we've been able to do is to continue to offer excellent academics and instruction at our schools, both through distance learning, through hybrid, and in person. And of course, always that really strong commitment to faith formation and service that is really the trademark of our Catholic schools. And so we continue to grow in enrollment, which is very exciting. To date, we do a census every year. Nationally, all Catholic schools submit census numbers about the second week of September, and since then we've seen a steady increase in enrollment, and I think this week we're up about 280 students from that September census. So we continue to grow. I do think that the schools, our teachers are just our heroes. They are the ones who are in the front lines with those students, and the leadership of our principals has really put our schools, I think, at the forefront of education here in Orange County.
Well, I do know that a lot of the schools, at least that I'm familiar with, several of them, really wanted to go back to school. And yes. Of course, that was an issue nationally with parents wanting their kids to go, and some no, they don't. And seems like we did lead the country in getting our kids back to school. In fact, I have a program here. I'm part of the Santa Margarita Catholic High School. They still send me stuff, even though my kids are long gone. And there is a brochure with very detailed how they were going to implement this program coming in the fall. So I thought, wow, do they have their act together? If only all the not only diocese schools, but the public schools across this country had this little handbook, could have solved the problem, I think, in many of the areas, certainly here in California.
Absolutely.
So kudos to your team for that.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Doctor, it's I know that both Rand and I have grandchildren in the school system in Orange County Catholic school system, and we've been involved in the Catholic school system for the diocese in a lot of different capacities over the years. But such a challenge that you're facing. But one of those challenges is, I suppose, an option for parents to either bring their kids back to the campus or online teach them, and you've had to accommodate for both in all the systems. That's been an amazing accomplishment to handle both those mediums of education successfully.
Yes, it has. And, and again, going back to that mission, what we mentioned in our mission is our partnership with parents. And, philosophy of Catholic education really believes that parents are the primary educators of their children. As such, we felt that it was so important for our parents to have an option. And we worked really hard to ensure that those options really met the standards of excellence that we've created and that we hold ourselves to. And so, the option for distance learning, in-person instruction, hybrid model, that's going on across our diocese right now. We're also really proud that we have one of the first online Catholic school elementary academies, and that's St. Polycarp School. So for those schools that don't have the resources to offer kind of a dual track, if you will, and in-person and distance learning, we have a school that is fully dedicated to online education, and it's been a game changer for our families. And because it is a completely digital platform, it breaks down some of those barriers. And so now we can reach outside of the barriers of the boundaries of the Diocese of Orange, and we do have students from outside of our diocese and even from outside of our state that have opted to enroll in St. Polycarp so that they too can receive a Catholic education.
Isn't that is truly amazing? Oh my goodness.
Great idea.
Yes. And I think one of the key things, when we find ourselves in times of crisis, it really pushes us to be innovative. And I know, we've seen that in many different aspects, but it's been really rewarding to be able to be an agent of change during this time in our diocese, and to lead our schools in this way, and to really think outside the box, and to respond with creativity and innovation, and really to look ahead as to now, what does this mean for the future of Catholic education?
Yeah. And forever now. It probably will be changed forever.
Yeah.
So kind of explain, because we are one of the leading counties, I guess, in terms of being able to go back to school, but there was a balance of I guess, distant learning. I don't know exactly the word you use for it, versus in-person learning, because from what I understand, it isn't like you go to school on Monday from 9 to 3 every single day. There's a balance of some sort. So can you explain how you are working this out, the typical schedule for a grade student versus maybe a high school student?
Sure, yeah, and you're exactly right, Rand. There's a difference between our elementary schools and our high schools. So our elementary schools all began in person on September 8th, and they were fully in person, meaning a regular school day from 8 to 3. Having said that, about 20 of our 31 schools offer a distance learning program in addition to their traditional online program. And those programs vary from pre-recorded instruction from teachers, having office hours, things like that. But for the most part, it really is kind of what we're doing now, where students from their homes Zoom into the classroom so that they can engage with their peers, which is a really important part of their social development as well as their academic development. For our high schools, they've all opted for kind of a modified hybrid program, and really that's because of the size and scope of their programs. We have some of the largest Catholic high schools in the country, and so because of the physical distancing protocols that were in place, we had to make sure that our classes were physically, smaller. And so they've divided their student population into 2 different tracks. And some of them have kind of an AM and a PM track where half of the students come in the morning and the other half in the afternoon. And some are those alternate days that you mentioned. So again, our school leaders really thought hard and deeply about what the needs of their particular communities were and designed programs to meet those needs.
So a question I have on this, though, continuing with this question, hold on, Randy, for a sec, is we are in a lockdown right now. So actually it's easier to implement this than, let's say now the vaccine is working and we're going back to work, and a lot of the parents now are going back to work. Do you see challenges with the distance learning at that point, or will just everyone be back in school at that point? Once the parents are going back to work, will the kids be going back to school full time?
Yes. So right now, we're coming off of a 2-week holiday, and we're gauging, quite honestly, what the impact of that has been on the number of positive cases, or students, or teachers, or staff members that need to be in quarantine, perhaps because they traveled or lived with someone who's tested positive. And so all of those things, really, really complex and difficult to balance. But I'm really happy to share that. Except for, I think, a handful of our elementary schools, all of our elementary schools returned to in-person instruction this week. And that's just because, quite honestly, the case numbers are very, very low at our schools. We do have a COVID-19 dashboard on our school website at OC Catholic Schools, and every day that's updated, and we really want to be transparent to the outside community. Our schools have worked very hard to put their health and safety protocols in place, and they have been diligently adhering to these plans. And so, right now our schools they're the safest place for students and staff members and teachers. Our high schools, again, they're much larger, and out of an abundance of caution, they've opted to resume in distance learning mode this week. And some of the high schools will resume to their hybrid in-person next week. So we're getting back up and running. So as kind of the state monitors the stay-at-home order, schools are not affected by that, but that flexibility, I think, has been really important to help us continue to offer those excellent programs and to move our students along this school year.
Well, it certainly has shown that in time of crisis, how the private schools, private Catholic schools, really shine in comparison to the public schools and what they have to offer. In fact, there was some news, I think a month or so ago, about so many children failing their classes in the public schools because they're just not on it like we are. And it's just a point I want to make to parents that may be considering having their kids join us that aren't currently with us, that are at public schools. What a difference the education is right now.
It really is, we continue to implement our STAR testing in math and reading. We had our first testing back in September. Our second testing window is coming up next week, and our students continue to achieve, at the 75th percentile level. So we're doing some things really well, and I absolutely agree. Now more than ever, our kids need that stability. So as I said, we continue to welcome new families and new students every week. So we're really happy about that.
That's amazing, Doctor. A bit of a derivative of all this relative to distance learning and online learning is the technology side of the equation. And obviously, families at home have to be able to the technology and be able to implement it in order to take advantage of all this. Is there any special programs going on within the diocese, within the Department of Education, relative to technology, helping people provide a computer or whatever the case may be at home? the home.
That's a great question, because you're absolutely right, Randy. None of this works if we don't have the right tools, right? And
Right.
so I think one of the things that the Diocese of Orange did very well before I got here was really this focus on educational technology at our schools. And so our schools were really kind of the front runners in ensuring that that our students not only had devices in their hands and had access to them, but just the hard wiring and some of the things like that were, you know, had already been done at most of our schools. How does that though translate, right, when you take that to a home environment? And that's where we did have some hiccups along the road, because we had a number of devices already deployed to most of our 5th through 8th grade students. It was relatively easy for us to pivot to distance learning. Those younger students did have to have access to devices at their homes, but even you know, even some of our schools in our regional model, we were able to get devices from, you know, from other schools, and really as a diocese try to share the wealth, if you would. So so to really ensure that equity, you know, that equity and access is something that is really important to us as a community. I think along those lines as well, ensuring that connectivity, right? And so so we have great partners, not only in our IT department, but also with some of our vendors, just to make sure that we're working with different schools in the ways that they need it, to make sure that that our teachers have that connectivity, that our families have access to that as well. And then another part of that is, you know, the technology is not very good if you don't know how to use it, right? And so, you know, right away, our focus was on ensuring that our teachers knew how to teach. It's very different. You know, we're not, as teachers, we're trained to be in the classroom. We're not trained to deliver lessons this way. And so, so we connected almost immediately with our partners at Loyola Marymount University. And they responded just so well, and have been great partners throughout this in designing professional development for our teachers, and really taking their lead from what our needs were as a diocese, and designing things and supports along the way. So, so I feel very fortunate that we have such a great relationship with our local Catholic university, and I think again, those partnerships have really proven to be so important at a time like this.
Yeah.
Well, could you please expand on how people could get involved? Because I know you did with me. We talked a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And explain that partnership as you know, I have said I'm willing to be part of that partnership, and I know the Levesque Foundation has joined, and maybe our listeners as well as Randy, you could kind of explain how that works.
Absolutely, yes. So so besides doing the kind of initial professional development across the diocese, we are in partnership with Loyola Marymount University and their Ideal Academy Institute. And really what that focuses on is blended learning for our schools. Right now we have 3 schools that are being trained in this. It's a 3-year program, and it is focused on professional development. But really, what the key is using technology for individualized instruction for our children. And so we can now, you know, through the use of technology, meet kids where they are, and that means for those students that need you know, additional support, we have the means to support them, and for those who need additional challenges, we can do that as well. It's really just a phenomenal program, and again, that partnership is so important. The level of professional development and coaching, and, you know, in-person observations, things like that, has just been great. There's a whole parent component to this, because let's face it, as parents, this is not the way that we were educated, right? And so we need help as well to understand this, and what our role is as parents to support our students on this. So so a lot of pieces to it, but I think a really exciting opportunity for our schools, and grateful for the support of any of our listeners that might like to get involved in that.
Well, let's talk numbers just for a second. What is the cost to partner up with LMU on a school, so that our listeners understand? Because we do have a lot of executives and entrepreneurs and business people that listen to this podcast. And to sponsor, I believe, is it a school that you sponsor specifically?
Yes,
you can get involved
absolutely.
And how much?
Yeah, it's about $25,000 to $30,000 a year for a school to go through this. Yep.
Right. So I had thrown my hand in the ring here, my hat in the ring, to be a half sponsor, and
yes.
And so whoever's listening out there, I'm looking for a partner, and then I guess Dr. Barisano will pick the school. So
Rand,
yes.
Rand, do you have a partner right now?
I do not.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful.
Oh, I do have a partner.
That's
okay.
Great.
All right. It's the Randy.
We're putting this stuff all together, Rand. So
all right.
I'll make that commitment for sure.
That's exciting.
Okay.
I love that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Yeah. So we made some progress already.
Now we
all right. Good.
Now we just need our listeners to follow on this.
Yeah. I mean, this may be the future of learning as we go on. I was a big fan of the Jetsons back in the 60s.
Sure.
So Randy probably remembers it. I don't know if Dr. Erin does. But, everything was done on like a monitor, from talking to people. Really, Zoom was kind of in concept and invented in the 1960s with that television show. And we're now coming into that, and maybe COVID has kind of forced our hand. And it seems like you and your team have successfully started to implement this type of strategy in learning. And maybe, do you find that this might be a less expensive way as well to teach the kids, or is there a way we're saving money from the typical way?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think the more that we're able, once we get through kind of the initial training, I do think the opportunities to scale this out will present itself. So I absolutely think that there are some opportunities just kind of based on scale that we can look forward to.
Well, there's the advantage too of, as you said earlier, of capturing students that are in remote locations that might otherwise have long distances to drive, get to a Catholic school. Now have that facility to tap right in, and it's amazing. It's just tremendous, the benefit there.
It is. It's an exciting time to be in Catholic education. That's for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk just for a moment about faith, because when in talking, how do you instill our Catholic faith into this type of distance learning? For example, is there a weekly mass that is in the schools, or something that's online, or how did that work?
No, it's such a great question, and quite honestly, I remember back in March. It was March 13th. That was our the day that we closed our schools, and that weekend, my colleagues were working with Loyola Marymount on designing this professional development to deliver content and instruction. And quite honestly, I knew that my teachers would be able to do that. My immediate concern was, how are we going to ensure the Catholic identity of our schools through a remote option, right? And so without actually even needing to say that out loud, our principals and our teachers, they went to work at figuring it out. And so we've seen, again, just the level of creativity has been so inspiring, from morning assemblies that are broadcast that not only have announcements but prayer and intentions. You mentioned Mass. Right now with our elementary schools back in person, one of the again kind of hallmarks is our weekly masses with the parish, And because masses are outside and they're smaller in scope, a lot of our schools are having one class a week attend mass, so they still have that. And then the other classes watch the live stream of it, so that they're still participating in liturgy. And many parishes have been kind enough then after mass to have a Eucharistic minister or even a priest come over and distribute communion to the rest of the school community. So it's been I just, again, so proud that that the Catholic identity piece looks different, but it hasn't been watered down. It hasn't been ignored. If anything, it's been it's kind of this exciting new fire burning in people that we want to explore and to make sure that that we remain authentically Catholic and have these opportunities for formation for our children, for our parents, for our faculty and staff. We've offered retreats for our principals online. And right now we're for catechetical certification, we are partnering with Franciscan University through our Emmaus Institute here in the Diocese of Orange for teacher formation, and so lots of really just kind of neat opportunities for us to, I think, grow in our faith in ways that we never dreamt possible. But it's been fun.
Wow, that's great.
Doctor, this the conference that hopefully will come to pass this year in some version or another, but it's all being planned. Historically, that's raised a fair amount of money for the schools, and I thought it would be interesting from your perspective just to share with everybody that's listening to us. What are those funds used for primarily? Is it primarily tuition assistance, or is it support of the schools physically, or?
Yeah, so I think a little bit of both, but I would say primarily it's been tuition assistance. Catholic education is expensive, and I think you are both have sent your children, and I know you said that grandchildren now in supporting Catholic education, and so we want to make sure that it's affordable for any family that desires a Catholic education. And so so the proceeds from the Conference on Business and Ethics have primarily gone to support the financial aid of our families at schools across our diocese, because there's need everywhere. There really is, and we want to make sure that, again, that it's affordable and accessible for our families that really want this for their children. So the conference has made a huge impact in ensuring both of these things, and I think that has led to this growth that we talked about in enrollment, right. And ensuring that that we can offer these families this great education, this opportunity for faith formation, and work with them to make sure that that it's affordable for them as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's great. I was going to mention, just as a point of personal fact, that I, of course, went to grade school and high school in the Catholic schools, and Dr. Barisano comes from the San Gabriel Valley as the superintendent of schools, which actually covered both the grade school and the high school that
That's
I was
right.
in. And they're still running. And in fact, I'm very much in touch with my high school, and financially as well as on Facebook. And I could tell you it made a big difference for me. Randy, I'm not sure if we've talked about that. Have you, did you go to Catholic grade school in high school or in college, or?
No, I did, Rand. In fact, when I think back, I opened a lot of the Catholic schools that exist. Well, one maybe doesn't exist today, but from Mission, Capistrano to St. Catherine to Servite High School. I was in the 4th graduating class in Servite.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So our whole experience, and my children's experience, has all been Catholic schools all the way through, for sure.
Yeah. That I actually I did not. I just went to a public college, but Cal State Long Beach. But I did put 3 kids through. I think they might have all been Jesuit schools. LMU was one of them, by the way.
Okay.
So yeah, and Santa Clara, and
Sure.
and so great schools. They got a great education at the colleges, but you know, it started with the grade school.
Yeah.
You know, Catholic grade school,
Right.
and it just gives you that foundation and support, and then it's reinforced in high school.
Mhm.
And of course, given the opportunity, I would have loved to have gone to a Catholic university, but it's expensive, and you've got to have the financial support. That's
Right.
that's a whole nother podcast or whatever
Sure.
to talk about that. A separate series here.
There is,
So, Randy, any other questions before we conclude?
you know, Rand, there's no doubt that the kids that are going to college out of our Catholic high schools, and obviously through the elementary schools, are so prepared. It's just amazingly how prepared they are. And they are a noticeable difference when they come out of college and come into the workforce.
Yeah.
I've hired a number of kids that have come through the Catholic school education system, and they're just noticeably more polished, more grammatically correct, just have their head about them, you know,
Yeah.
coming into the workforce. So it's very, very noticeable, the difference.
My father-in-law, who started White Nelson CPAs here in Orange County, as you know, Randy, he was really recruiting out of a lot of them were from Servite.
Yeah.
All the partners that are now retiring were Servite grads, and you know, the firm has grown and expanded almost to the size of yours. So there's just some amazing men and women that have come as a result of coming out of the Catholic schools and being successful and in all matters, and having a lot of balance in their life and
Yes.
faith in their life, not just as far as monetary awards, but just
Mhm.
family and balance.
Solid
And
people.
so you're in charge, Dr. Barisano, to continue to make this happen.
All right.
And we certainly,
We have all the
we
confidence.
certainly thank you.
Well, it's been, this has been fun, and I'm happy to talk about Catholic schools anytime. So thanks for the opportunity.
Great.
All right. So you have been listening to Dr. Erin Barisano, the Diocese of Orange Superintendent of Schools, and we thank Erin for being on today, and we wish you well and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year
Thank
to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Erin.